You are listening to episode number 1 of the Frank Amato Show. I am yours truly, your host, Frank Amato. And guys, I'm excited to do this show. And this is going to be a fun one. Obviously, it's my first episode. And the reason I say it's going to be fun is because if you know me, there's going to be people that watch this episode that obviously know me personally, or maybe have watched my previous show in the past. And there's gonna be people that don't know me, obviously, going into this show blind, not knowing who I am. If you do know me, you obviously know I had a podcast already. I had a show, and for those that didn't know, now you know. And this was a football related show. It was JBF the show, just being frank. And listen, I'll say this about my podcast that I started a couple, this is probably over 6 months ago now that I started it. I really enjoyed doing it. Just the process and the amount of work that goes into a show like this from a consumer or audience perspective, it could be hard to know how much goes into something like this, starting a show, and then you want to try and, cut it up for clips that you could post onto your various social media platforms. And there is a ton that goes into it. Obviously, the preparation and just like the brief scripts, all right, to kind of help myself guide myself through the episodes. eh, There's a lot, and I built a really strong respect for the people that have done it for so long. Now, with that being said, the reason I stopped the football podcast is because I just lost the fulfillment for it and really just an enjoyment for talking about such a narrow topic, which is football. Like, it's not even a sports podcast. It was just a football podcast, which I love football. If you know me, I played it growing up. I have all the, obviously all the posters in the background. I'm a big Giants fan. I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl coming up next Sunday, and I'm sure you guys are as well. But I do want to do a podcast, which is why I'm starting a new show here that you're watching as we speak. The reason I stopped doing the football one is because I am aiming in this new show, guys, to be a bit more broad in the varieties of different topics I could talk about and different sectors. Specifically, self improvement is really what I want to aim this podcast, or should I say, design this podcast around and mold it around, is self improvement. And what I think is beautiful about that, there's this quote, right? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I think improvement can also be in the eye of the beholder. What is improvement? It's the, tendency to try and get better in whatever it is you're doing, right? Or that gradual path towards getting better each and every single day, week, month, year. But it could be in so many different areas of your life, right? Are we talking physically? Are we talking mentally? Are we talking spiritually? Are we talking financially? And then there's so many different ways you can improve. And also, improvement is subjective. And so I think the beauty of this show is it's going to be very broad. It's going to hopefully be as applicable as possible in your day to day life. And I want to have so many different types of guests on from various different industries that have a ton of things to bring to the table. And I want to help people as much as I possibly can. The motto of this show is educate, implement, improve. So we're going to be here to help educate you guys. And sometimes it's not just going to be an educational podcast. Sometimes we're just going to be talking, have a conversation. Um, but hopefully you could take something from it. That's the goal, really. And that gets me to the next part of my motto, which is implement. So you want to implement what we teach here and then improve, like help it improve your day-to-day life. And so my first episode today that we're going to be getting into is 5 things to add to your daily routine in 2026. 5 things that I've added. Some of these things I've been doing a lot longer than just 2026, but I'm starting to really implement them every day and be more consistent in doing these 5 things. Hopefully I teach you something today and just help you take one step towards improvement in 2026 and beyond that. I've never been a big Happy New Year's guy because, why are we celebrating another year, around the sun or whatever, when you should every single day should really hold the same amount of weight as far as you taking steps to improve. That's what I believe. And so this is not just going to be like, oh, 5 things I've added to my daily routine for the new year. This is going to be things that you should consistently look to add going forward. But that's just in general. I don't want this to be, you know, when you have your New Year's resolutions, you do them for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, sometimes a month, and then you kind of fizzle out. That's not what this is going to be, guys. This is going to be a year round show where I want you to be the best version of yourself genuinely. That's why I'm doing this. And I think I have something to bring to the table in terms of a podcast. I want to introduce myself a little bit here. Don't want to take too much time talking about myself, but for those that don't know me, my name is Frank Amato. I'm 23 years old, going to be turning 24 here in April, so coming up. I live in Manalapan, New Jersey. It's a small, medium town, I would say, in New Jersey. It's not north, it's not south. It's kind of central New Jersey, and I went to school at Rutgers University. Graduated in May of 2024 with a degree in chemical engineering, and so my path has been pretty interesting. I actually got into some sort it was a project management role that I got into after I graduated in a the construction wastewater and water industry where they were building out projects uh, for wastewater infrastructure. Long story short, I stopped doing that. Right now, I'm actually trying to look for a career within my specific major that I studied in college, chemical engineering. And so I'll keep you guys updated on how that goes if you are interested. And another thing with this podcast that I want to preface with before I even start is that I'm going to try and really make this show grow organically. I'm really not going to tell many people about it that I even know. I could probably count on my one hand how many people I've told about this podcast before the first episode, and I'm going to keep it that way. I'm going to try and let this show grow organically. But that's enough about me and what this is going to be all about. I hope you guys enjoy this episode and episodes to come, and I hope you enjoy this journey. But episode number one is going to be 5 things to add to your daily routine in 2026 that I believe have helped me so far. I've done all 5 of these things pretty much every single day. A couple of them have been hard because of the weather in New Jersey. It's been really cold and snowy. And so I'm still trying my best to incorporate most of these things, but let's get into it. I don't really think this episode is going to be too long. It's going to be pretty lax. And in the future, again, I'm going to try and have guests on. I'm going to have try and have as many different people from as many different backgrounds as possible. I want the show to be diverse. And again, that goes back to me saying improvement is different for everybody. So I think having a diverse group and a large, abundant group of guests from different backgrounds is going to be able to help as many people as possible achieve what they want to achieve or listen to what they want to listen to. Sometimes, hopefully, this is just going to be like a lax, laid back show where we can just have a fun conversation where it's maybe not going to be too educational, but it's going to make someone's day a bit better. So that's what the goal is with this show. But anyways, this is going to be a self-improvement episode, my first episode here. And let's get into 5 things that I think you should add to your daily routine in 2026 that I believe personally have helped me. First one, you would think this one's really intuitive as far as it's common sense and you would think people are still doing it because it's common sense, but I think a lot of people lack in this area and that is drink adequate amounts of water every single day, guys. Again, it seems intuitive, but I'm sure a ton of you guys out there would be so willing to admit to me right now that you're not drinking enough water. Uh, Obviously, it's vital to the human body. We're anywhere from 2/3 to 70% water. Our body is made up of water. It's in pretty much all of our cells. There's been studies to show that even like 2 to 3 percentage points of dehydration can have effects on you in your day to day, and things like attention, effort, concentration, focus, alertness. And so even just slight dehydration and not taking care of your body with, the proper fluids can actually have a noticeable effect on you and sometimes without you even noticing, but it does have that effect anyways. Um so the goal for you every single day, if you guys don't know what homeostasis is, it's the stable and balanced internal environment that is could be interrupted when you're dehydrated, but it could be a variety of things that knock you off of that homeostasis. So it could be lack of sleep is another thing, and of course, the foods that you put into your body can disrupt homeostasis. Um, and so being dehydrated does certainly, obviously, it's proven to affect your homeostasis and your stable and balanced internal environment, taking care of your body. The National Academies of Science have suggested that the adequate intake of water for men and women aged anywhere from 19 to 30 years old are 3.7 liters and 2.7 liters, respectively. So men should be aiming to intake 3.7 liters of water every day, which is just a bit under a gallon, and for women, 2.7 liters. Now, keep this in mind. You don't necessarily have to drink that much water, those two amounts that I just said every single day. And the reason is because you're also getting about 20% of your water from foods that you're eating every single day, especially if you're having vegetables, obviously very rich in H2O. And another thing is you don't necessarily just have to get it from water. You obviously, get your sources of water from things like, even if you have juice in the morning, uh, orange juice, if you have milk in the morning, like these are mainly comprised of water. Um, so I would say you want to try and aim for about 3 liter. I try and go for 3 liters of like pure water every day, because the rest of it I'm going to get from my other fluids that I drink and also food. So I say, I put it at about 3 liters for men and about 2.2 liters for women. So this equates to about six regular sized water bottles. I believe they're usually 16.9 fluid ounces. So if you're having about six water bottles a day for men and then four for women, you're probably hitting that threshold, as long as you're eating foods that are rich in water as well as other fluids. If you have a cup of orange juice in the morning, which I do every now and again. Um, so it's also important to note this. This one I wrote down because it's really important, that there's other factors that obviously can lead to an accelerated path to dehydration. So, one being obviously the weather. If you live in warmer temperatures, which is not the case here in New Jersey, but if you do obviously live in warmer temperatures, that leads to quicker dehydration. You probably want to drink more than the adequate intake, which is, before I said, 3.7 liters and 2.7 liters, respectively, for men and women. Now, another thing is not just there's obviously a variety of factors. So it's not just weather. It's also, do you exercise often and you sweat often? You probably want to drink more fluids than those people who don't, which everyone should be exercising, obviously. And so something like that, you would want to drink water more. And another thing is using the sauna. If you use the sauna and sweat a ton, you want to drink more water for sure. Even daily coffee and caffeine intake affect your hydration levels. So you want to make sure to incorporate all these different factors that may specifically apply to you, like, obviously in a more narrow subset of people that do or don't do these particular things. Um, so I try to get closer to 3.5 liters per day, which is, again, just 3.5 liters. A gallon, I believe, is close to 4 liters, right? So 3.5 liters, because I exercise anywhere from 4 to 6 days per week. And so obviously I'm exercising more. Despite living in New Jersey where it's extremely cold, that factor of exercise, and I exercise, I would say, probably more than the average person. I want to be making sure that I'm drinking enough water. So that is number one, guys. Number two is something I've been doing a lot and I've really been enjoying. I've been doing this one for about a month. I started doing this more often once the new year hit, and that is breath work. I do breath work in the morning before I even eat breakfast. I do it on an empty stomach, which is better for you, apparently. And also before bed, I do my breath work. I find it to be really relaxing. This has been a game changer for me. I cannot stress it enough that it has truly impacted me in a profound way. Um, I specifically use the 11-minute video on YouTube. It has like 100 something million views. It's the guided Wim Hof method breathing YouTube video. Um, and I have truly noticed significant improvements in not just my mood, but my level of relaxation in the morning, when you probably need it the most. Because, people wake up, including myself. I used to wake up overwhelmed, my mind's racing a million miles an hour. And a lot of the times, for some reason, you have these negative thoughts in the morning. I don't really know what the phenomenon of that is, but yes, I've been doing it in the morning, and I certainly feel less stressed. I feel more relaxed. I have a better mood after doing it, and It's just been an everyday habit for me. One of the most prevalent studies online that I actually found was by a group of PhDs at Stanford. One being Andrew Huberman, who's a professor at Stanford, very well known. He has his podcast, The Huberman Lab. And there was a randomized control study they did aimed at understanding what the psychological effects of doing breath work are, along with they put it side by side with mindfulness meditation. And so the researchers that did this study, Andrew Huberman et al., they came to find out that breathwork that did actually produce more of a net positive effect than the mindfulness meditation did. And from what I understand, it's the fact that the breath when you're doing breath work like I've been doing, it's intentional controlled breathing. Um, with more specific patterns as compared to mindfulness meditation, and because that's more of like a passive breathing technique. And it was proven to be, in this study at least, to be more effective at enhancing mood. And so I personally feel like my mood has taken a positive impact from doing breath work. I would say even more so it's the relaxation and lack of stress, like especially in the morning, and then when I'm going to bed from doing the breath work. Specifically, if you were to read the study, cyclic sighing is the type of breath work done by these researchers to most improve daily mood and reduce respiratory rate. So things like resting heart rate. Um, that's the form of breath work where you're taking a larger inhale than you are, or I'm sorry, you're taking a larger exhale than you are inhale. So you're gonna take your exhale is gonna be double the amount of time that your inhale is, and then your hold in between is gonna be a quarter of the time compared to, or I'm sorry, it might be half the time compared to your exhale. No, it's you take an inhale. So let's say you inhale for a second, you hold for half a second, and then you exhale for 2 seconds. So that's the ratio. Um, Me personally, I've been looking to do that so I do the Wim Hof video, as I said before. It's an 11-minute video where you do 30 deep breaths in, you do 30 deep breaths out. And what I aim to do is my exhale, try to make it a bit stronger than my inhale. And then you'll see there's breath holds in between those sets of 30, breathing in and out. And so it has had a positive impact on me personally, I feel. And again, I've been doing them twice per day. So I've been doing one in the morning before I even eat, and then one at night right before bed. It has been awesome. And again, it's a Stanford research study that I found by the National Institutes of Health. It was They're up there on the website. So you guys should look into it. I'm sure you wouldn't have trouble finding it. It's one of the ones that come up pretty quickly when you search it up online. Positive effects of breath work. You should be able to find it. Andrew Huberman's in there, and a bunch of other Stanford PhDs. So that is the second thing I've been doing. Let's get into the third thing, and this one can be different for certain individuals. You'll see. I've been taking fish oil. I've been taking those omega-3 fatty acids. Now, there is still a lot of work to be done as far as what the specific and heavily consistently proved effects are of taking fish oil. Now, I will say this because this is, not up for debate. The average American diet consists of way more omega-6 fatty acids than omega-3 fatty acids. This is pretty much without debate. There's numbers out there being anywhere from 10 to 1 to even 20 to 1 in some studies. That's omega-6 to omega-3 intake. So, for context, omega-3 fatty acids and omega-6 fatty acids, they're two of the prominent polyunsaturated fatty acids, so PUFAs, that are essential to human beings, and they don't produce. Human beings, we don't produce these fatty acids in sufficient enough amounts naturally to meet our physiological needs. So we need to consume them. And part of the reason that omega-6 intake for the average American, and good chance you watching, you're probably intaking more omega-6s than omega-3s, not for everyone obviously. But the reason for it is because of the amount of one being the amount of seed oils that are in our foods. that are in specifically processed foods like safflower. One is safflower oil, corn oil, and then soybean oil. So these are three of the corn oil, or I'm sorry, the oils, seed oils that are in our foods that lead to an increase in omega sixes. And some people will make the debate out there that you should decrease your omega six intake, and then there's going to be a lot of others out there that say keep your omega 6 intake the same, but what you should look to do is increase your omega 3 intake. So I honestly did a pretty good amount of research on omega 3 fatty acids. There's two specific ones that you want to look to consume. One is EPA, that is eicosapentaenoic acid. And the second one is DHA, which is docosahexaenoic acid. I believe I'm saying both of those right. Um, you should be looking to actively add those to your diet. Now, you're going to get them specifically from a lot of different types of fatty fish. Salmon, mackerel, sardines, and trout are four of the main fish types of fish that you will see a lot of these omega 3s in these fish. With that being said, I don't eat fish a lot. I don't know if you guys eat fish a lot. I've been trying more consciously to consume. I try to eat salmon at least once a week. And so I do recommend that you try to eat fish once per week. But listen, I know people don't like fish and you're maybe just you're not a big fan of fish or you just don't eat it often. And I would say for you and what I've been doing is I've been taking a fish oil supplement every day. You want to do your research. I wish I brought it down. I didn't bring it for this episode. I meant to and I forgot. You want to look for the fish oil supplements out there that contain adequate amounts of DHA, docosahexaenoic acid, and eicosapentaenoic acid, EHA. Those are the two types of omega 3s that you want to incorporate more in your diet. And I would say that's mainly to, again, balance your ratio of omega 3s to omega 6s that you're taking because the ratios right now are much more skewed for the average American diet than they probably should be. And so that's something I've been doing. Now, the FDA, I want to be specific where the FDA stands with these supplements. And obviously, speak to your physician, speak to your doctor. But I did do some research, and the FDA has approved the use of qualified health claims that suggest consuming EPA and DHA omega 3s combined may help lower blood pressure and hypertension. Um, and as well as reducing the risk of coronary heart disease by lowered blood pressure. So now let me just be more specific with this that the evidence reported for these two fatty acids, it's still inconsistent, it's still inconclusive. It's not deterministic. We're not 100% sure what the benefits are. People out there will tell you there's cognitive benefits even potentially to these supplements, but um, importantly, the FDA has not objected to the use of these claims that these fatty acids lower blood pressure, hypertension, and potentially even reduce coronary heart disease. So I thought that was pretty significant. So the FDA can make authorized health claims, and then they make qualified health claims. So qualified health claims are one step behind, I guess, because these supplements are not deterministic in what their benefits are. There's still some speculation as far as what the benefits may or may not be, but there is enough research out there for the FDA to say, hey, if you are, you know, producing, if you're a company that produces these supplements, you could put on the label that these omega 3 fatty acids and fish oil, specifically the supplement, can lower omega 3s and omega 6s in your diet. Or I'm sorry, what am I saying? They could reduce the risk of hypertension, blood pressure, and also reduce the risk of coronary heart disease. And so I thought that was pretty significant. I want to take care of my heart health. I've been taking the fish oil supplement to balance out my omega 6, omega 3 intake. So that is another thing I've been doing. Number four, guys, we got two more. This one I've been enjoying a ton, and this is one that I have been doing well before the new year. Some days I would skip, but I do this every day now. I read, guys. Another one that feels pretty intuitive. You want to stimulate your brain. I've made it more of a commitment to read a book, pick up and read a book every single day, guys. Specifically, I really enjoy nonfiction. Reading, it stimulates the brain's neural pathways, that has profound and well known effects on memory, cognition, and just general activity in your brain. So, obviously, it's really good for you to read. I personally enjoy reading, right? So, I find it to be a hobby. I do like to read and learn new things. I'm a curious person. There's going to be people out there watching. You watching right now, you might not be much of a reader yourself. You might not enjoy it. I'll say this about life and just in all things, you're not always going to enjoy everything you do, but there is reasons for things you do that you don't enjoy because there is longer term benefits. And I would say that's the case with the reading for sure. So listen, spend that 20, 30 minutes before bed picking up a book and reading it. Um, and I'm going to as it pertains to bedtime, I'm going to get into why I think you should read as well because it's actually killing two birds with one stone. Um, but just to get back on track here, my advice is to step out of your comfort zone. If you don't enjoy reading, pick up a book, do it. You never know. You might start to find enjoyment out of it as you do it more and more consistently every day. Um, there's certainly prevention in long term cognitive decline from certain studies that, older people who read every single day. There was a certain study I read where it prevented cognitive decline in people. And I thought that was another really profound finding. There's been over 40 studies deeming that 45% of vocabulary acquisition comes from reading exposure. So, if you're reading 45% of your vocabulary and your choice of words that you use on a day-to-day basis actually come from reading. I thought that was pretty interesting. Um, Here's another thing. Here's what I was getting to with the two birds and one stone. So, specifically putting the phone down before bed and picking up your book instead, it's going to have significant and noticeable effects on your sleep. And the reason is because, your phone emits blue light. I'm sure many of you know this. And what that does is it lowers the melatonin production in your brain. And that certainly impacts your sleep. It disrupts your circadian rhythm, which is your sleep wake cycle, your natural body's sleep wake cycle and rhythm, I should say. And it's actually funny. This is the book I'm reading right now, A Good Night's Sleep. It's by Lawrence J. Epstein. I guess he's an MD from Harvard, and I'm only about 30 pages in, but I'm learning about homeostasis and homeostatic drive, and then the circadian rhythm and how they work together to improve sleep or work against sleep, even for certain people. Um, but yeah, so that blue light really affects you before you're going to bed if you use your phone. So you're essentially killing two birds with one stone by picking up a book right before bed, maybe half hour before bed, read a couple pages, and then go to bed, and then putting down your phone. So that's why I'm saying two birds with one stone. There's the positive, sensational benefits of picking up the book before bed, but also the benefits of putting the phone down. So that's one thing I've been doing every single day. I feel sharper. Again, that cognition, that ability to focus, to be more alert throughout the day. I truly feel it, and it could be because I'm doing all these different things that I've been talking about. So far we've talked about reading, fish oil, breath work, water, and it could be all these things working in harmony for me to feel the way that I've been feeling the last month. I feel a lot better. Just I feel more sharp, less brain fog. I feel more, I don't want to even say motivated, but more willing to do some of the uncomfortable things that I do on a day to day basis, like exercise. So I highly recommend these four things so far. And then the last one, this one's going to be definitely much more subjective because people still look at it as a pseudoscience. Is this really true as far as the benefits of it? And that is grounding, guys. I quite literally every single day, as of late, I haven't because it's been snowing out, but I try to get my feet in the dirt or, touching the actual earth surface. And again, this one's more of like an inconsistent and unproven science in terms of like there's not overwhelming evidence to suggest this stuff actually works, but I enjoy it anyway, just putting my feet in the dirt every single day. Um there is studies that are looking to isolate when you're outside, there's a wide variety of different factors that can contribute to your health. When get sun every single if you were to go outside and get sun, there's so many positive benefits of getting sun every single day, even if it's only 5 to 10 minutes. The vitamin D, the serotonin. There's studies that say you have an improvement in mood from getting sun every single day, and Then there's something like color contrast, like all the different colors when you're outside, you have blue, green, and then there's all the earthy colors, intermixed together. And they say that might potentially have health benefits. So my point being, there's so many different variables, and Andrew Huberman was also talking about this on one of his podcasts. That it almost feels artificial to just isolate grounding and figure out what are or aren't the benefits of doing it. Me personally, I do it anyway. And listen, you don't have to do it. Go outside and put your feet in the dirt or put your feet in the grass for anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes a day is what I usually do. But either way, whether you do it or not, get outside 20 to 30 minutes a day. There's overwhelming evidence and obviously so many benefits to being outside. One being the sun, even just experiencing wildlife and animals. There's studies to suggest that that actually improves your health and well being. And then again, things like color contrast. And there's just so many different things or so many different factors that contribute to benefited health from being outside. So, me personally, I like to do the grounding because, listen, even if it's not as beneficial as I think it could potentially be, there's definitely not really many negatives to it, right? Or at least proven negative. The same way the benefits of grounding aren't fully supported or backed by the scientific community. They're also not negated or looked at as, oh, this is a horrible thing to do or a bad thing to do. It's just more neutral. People are, scientists are pretty much neutral on grounding as a whole. But I was reading this one research article, and I thought it was pretty interesting as far as what they believe grounding could potentially do. So, um, Earth's surface is essentially like very electron rich, and so it's a free electrons will enter your body when you're putting your feet in the dirt or you're grounding, and they think that there is a benefit as far as healing up your injuries. So, um, I'm going to read off my notes here. There has been fascinating research to suggest the fact that grounding can reverse engineer this inflammatory cycle that happens when you sustain an injury. Um, so, what I thought was interesting is, let's say you have an injury. Um, well, the electrons, they serve as antioxidants that can. So, if you have an injury, let me start from the beginning because I'm kind of getting twisted in my thoughts here. So, it is known, or there's studies to suggest that the grounding can have surreal effects on fighting against inflammation due to the electrons that pass through your skin and spread within your body that come from the ground, right? So we know the ground and Earth's surface is very electron rich. Now, with that, these researchers believe that these electrons can essentially be antioxidants for your body that neutralize the ROS, the reactive oxygen species in your body, or free radicals. And then that alters the inflammatory response to an injury you have. So when you have an injury, like the white blood cells flood to that injured spot. Um, so now, when you have incomplete repair to an injury you've had, that can often go unnoticed, and that's called silent inflammation. And that silent inflammation can occur over long periods of time. And these researchers believe that is one of the things that leads to chronic disease over time. And so this research team made the hypothesis and suggested that grounding can almost essentially reverse engineer this inflammatory cycle you have. It's going to speed up your healing time due to an injury and potentially prevent chronic disease over the course of your lifetime, which is the most common cause of death and disability in America. So, is this grounding thing fully proven? No. Is it debated? Absolutely. Do I think that if you're not going to put your feet in the ground for 20 to 30 minutes a day, you should at least go outside and get sun exposure, maybe take a walk or exercise? Absolutely, because there's an overwhelming amount of research to suggest that, being outside will have some very positive impacts on your health, whether that be just getting some sun or taking a walk, whether you're grounding or not. So that's what I would say the fifth one is: get outside. I personally like to do the grounding thing because I don't see downside to it. If anything, there is upside potentially in this, science that still needs to undergo a lot of research. And yeah, guys, that is the five things I have, five things I've added to my daily routine in 2026 just to improve my well-being. I thought this was a good place to start. Just rattle off some things that I've done this year so far to help improve, and I hope you guys will implement a couple, if not all, of these things. Thanks for listening, guys, to episode one of the Frank Amato Show. Um, I'm excited for this journey. This one's going to be fun. This new podcast I'm doing, it's going to be much more broad. I want to have guests on, so if you guys are interested and you're watching, feel free to DM me, or we're on YouTube, so comments. And then obviously I'm on Spotify as well. Again, I'm gonna let this grow organically. Not gonna tell many people about it that I know. I've told four, maybe five people, not many people at all. And yeah, and I'm not really even gonna tell them where to find it either. So I just wanted to grow that way, where it's not like you started watching it because I told you to, word of mouth type of thing. I want it to be, you only come here to watch this show if you're interested in watching it. And we're going to grow that way naturally, organically. And I'm excited to have guests on. I want to have people from so many different industries. I want to have, you know, people like PhD, um, i- people with their PhDs on here in a variety of different fields. I want to have successful business people on this show, potentially even doctors. Who knows if I can get a doctor on this show at some point. And I'm just looking forward to growing this thing and helping as many people as I can. So, with that being said, guys, thank you for listening to episode one of the Frank Amato Show, and we'll see you soon.